He used to watch her every morning, sunlight glinting off her hair as if it was spun from gold. To him, she was home. To her, he was an anchor she wanted to cut loose. They built their world on promises, tiny bricks of trust stacked one by one. But somewhere between late nights and quiet arguments, those promises cracked. She started smiling at someone else. He kept holding on, believing love was enough. What happens when the heart that beats for you starts beating for another? This is the story of a man who never stopped loving her, even when she did. Ethan grew up believing love was a sanctuary, a place you ran to, not from. He met Claire on a rainy Thursday in a crowded train station. She was carrying a box of old books, eyes lost in thought, and he offered to help. That single act of kindness unfolded into years of shared laughter, coffee dates, and whispered dreams under streetlights. They were each other's constants. Ethan, calm and deliberate, found warmth in Claire's restless spirit. She painted life in broad strokes, adventurous, bold, always searching. And he, steady as the tide, loved her for every imperfection. Together, they built a life. A small home with ivy crawling up the porch, a garden she filled with lilies, and a rhythm that felt unshakable. Ethan worked long hours as a high school teacher. Claire pursued her art, painting murals that caught attention across the city. They had their struggles, like anyone. Bills, deadlines, and nights spent apart due to commitments. But through it all, he believed they were unbreakable. Until, slowly, she began to change. It started with little things. The late-night phone she guarded closely. The new perfume she wore only when she went to the studio. The growing distance, masked by polite smiles. Ethan tried to brush it off. Everyone changes, he told himself. Maybe she just needed space. He began cooking her favorite meals again, leaving notes in her sketchbook, trying to spark what was fading. But she seemed elsewhere. Her laughter no longer lingered. Her eyes no longer softened when she looked at him. One evening, while clearing her studio, Ethan found a sketchbook tucked beneath her easel. Page after page was filled with portraits of a man he didn't recognize. Strong jaw, weary eyes, always smiling. The drawings felt intimate, personal, like a love she once reserved for him. His hands trembled as he closed the book. The realization didn't come as a sharp stab, it came like a slow ache, hollow and heavy. Still, he told himself there must be an explanation. Maybe he was a model. Maybe she was just inspired. Ethan wanted to believe her heart hadn't wandered. He waited, hoping she'd come to him, confess whatever she was carrying. But silence grew thicker between them, and he carried the weight alone. The more Ethan tried to hold on, the faster she slipped away. Their mornings turned quiet. She stopped making breakfast, stopped humming in the shower. Her texts grew shorter. Nights were longer, colder. When he reached for her hand, it often rested limp in his. He told himself love was patience. So he waited through distance, through doubt, through the hollowing of their home. Then came the invitation. An art exhibition, Claire's latest collection. Ethan attended proudly, hoping her passion might reignite what was lost. The gallery buzzed with admiration, walls lined with her work. But his heart froze when he saw it. At the center of the room, under the brightest light, hung a portrait. The man from her sketchbook. The title read, "The One Who Saved Me." People whispered about the story behind it, a muse, a confidant who'd helped her find herself again. Ethan smiled for the crowd, his chest tight, his world splintering in silence. She introduced the man to him, a gallery curator. Their handshake lingered too long, eyes meeting with a familiarity he recognized too well. That night, Claire spoke of art, of freedom, of needing to feel alive again. Ethan nodded, his voice swallowed by the lump in his throat. He didn't ask questions. He just listened, hoping to find his reflection somewhere in her words. Days turned into weeks. She spent more nights out, always with excuses that echoed emptiness. Ethan kept waiting, believing that love, real love, survives storms. But love cannot fix what no longer wants to be healed. Then came the betrayal he couldn't ignore. A friend sent him a photo Claire at a cafe, Fingers intertwined with the curator's, their smiles unguarded, genuine, effortless. The image burned itself into his memory, a truth he could no longer deny. That night, she returned home to find him sitting in the dim light, holding the photo. No words were spoken. Her silence was confirmation enough. Ethan felt something inside him break, not anger, not hatred, just the shattering of hope. He realized love wasn't leaving. Love was staying, even when it hurt. He didn't yell. He didn't beg. He simply stood, walked to their garden, and sat among the lilies she once planted. The scent of them was bittersweet now, a reminder of what once bloomed. Weeks passed. Claire packed her things, her footsteps echoing through the hollow house. Ethan helped her lift boxes, steady hands masking trembling nerves. When she reached the door, she paused. Maybe guilt flickered in her eyes, maybe sorrow, but she said nothing. And then she was gone. The silence left behind was deafening. The house became a museum of memories, mugs in pairs, her sweater on the chair, a faint trace of her perfume. Ethan wandered through rooms like a ghost, haunted not by anger, but by absence. He tried to fill the void with routine. Teaching, gardening, volunteering. But everything reminded him of her, the lilies, the art supplies she left behind, even the rain tapping the window. He kept waiting for resentment, for bitterness to take root. It never did. Instead, he felt compassion, a strange, painful understanding. She hadn't betrayed him because she stopped caring. She betrayed him because she no longer knew who she was with him. She'd fallen out of love quietly, gently, the way seasons change. And though it broke him, Ethan couldn't hate her for searching for what she'd lost. One day, a letter arrived. No return address. Her handwriting. You gave me everything I asked for. I just didn't know how to ask for myself. Thank you for loving me when I couldn't. I hope you find peace in the pieces I left behind. Ethan folded the letter carefully and placed it in the sketchbook she left behind, the one filled with another man's face. Not out of anger, but as closure. Because sometimes love means letting go with grace. That night, he walked into the garden, the moonlight washing over lilies now in full bloom. He knelt among them, whispering a quiet goodbye. Tears fell freely, not from loss, but from gratitude for having loved deeply, truly, even if it ended in heartbreak. Years passed. Ethan moved to a smaller town, traded the ivy-covered house for a cottage by the sea. He spent his mornings walking the shoreline, teaching children how to paint sunsets, and his evenings tending to a new garden, wildflowers this time, untamed and free. He still thought of Claire sometimes, not with pain, but with a soft melancholy. Love, he realized, isn't defined by its duration, but by its depth. He never stopped loving her, not because she deserved it, but because he understood that real love asks for nothing in return. In the quiet moments, he'd whisper to the sea, I hope you found what you were looking for. And somewhere in the crashing waves, he swore he heard peace answer back. Betrayal didn't destroy him, it remade him. It taught him that love can outlive loss, that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's freedom. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and grief, Ethan smiled softly. Because sometimes, the ones who leave teach us the most about staying kind, staying hopeful, staying true. Because he never stopped loving her, even when she did. Clapperboard closing takeaway. What's more powerful, holding on to love or letting it go with grace? In the end, maybe love isn't about who stays, but who keeps their heart open, even after it breaks. Red Heart.